Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Barstow. We're going to start off with the 232 cubic inch inline 6 manual version of the car because this is the most base model version of the car available to us. Looking at the car, you'll see that the design is inspired by late 60s and early 70s muscle cars with a little bit of pony car thrown in there as well, I think. We can go ahead and pull up the J-beam structure to take a look at that, but it's exactly what you'd expect from a car that is produced by the developers of the game. It all seems to match up perfectly, and there are no major issues, so to speak of, when driving and crashing the car. We can also take a look at the smaller details, like the brake lights, reverse lights, and running lights as well, once I get this thing to a stop. There we go. So there are the running lights, which have lights in the back and small little lights on the side there. Then we have the headlights, which are right there, and we have those little lights on the side, which will light up for when we have the blinkers on both sides. Then we also have the high beams, which are double as bright in the front, and you can see the difference when you're driving between the two. So now we can go ahead and move on to the interior. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, this is my favorite interior of all the stock vehicles because it's the most immersive, and when you're sitting in here, it just feels right. It's like exactly what I imagined the inside of this car to look like when I saw the outside of it, and it has a lot of small details I like as well. For example, those circular air vents right there, I really love them. They just feel so perfect in this car to me. And we got this stitching up here on the sun visor. I like that small detail, and we got stitching on the door as well, and I really like the wood grain detail in the door. I don't know if there's more of a better description for it, but that wood grain detail just looks really cool to me, and the wood grain all over the place as well just feels right in this car. And it even has the word Barstow on the headrest, which I thought was pretty cool. Moving on to the functionality of the interior, it has most of the things you would expect. For example, we have the parking brake, which is down there by the clutch, and you can see it engaging and disengaging right now. We have the clutch, which I can engage and disengage at will. We have the gas and brake pedals, which are kind of sporadic because we're in automatic transmission mode holding down the clutch, which sometimes makes weird things happen like that. I was just holding down just the brake, and it was like, it doesn't know which one it wants to do. And we also have the gauges, which are functional. As you see, the tachometer is moving, and the speedometer will move as well. Steering wheel does rotate, and it'll rock the car. And when the lights are on, the gauges are brighter, and they were already on right now, so we turn them off and they get darker. But there is no indicator for when you have your high beams on, so you have to be smart and make sure you're not being an idiot blinding everybody as you're driving down the highway. We do have a little lever on the stock for the blinkers, which moves as well. I think it was already on to go to the left, so now it's off, left, right. Now, one thing I noticed though is that the gear lever does not move when you shift in the manual version of the car. So for example, if we go through the gears, which we're doing right now, you'll notice the gear lever seems to be totally stationary, which is the only stock vehicle I know of that does that. So I'm assuming it might be updated in a later version of the vehicle. It might have just been a small oversight, but it's worth pointing out that the gear lever doesn't move as you would expect. Anyways, back to automatic mode. I think that about covers the inside, so let's go ahead and go back to the outside. Now, this is the slowest version of the car available to us, which takes almost a whole 10 seconds to get up to 60 miles per hour. So it is a very slow car compared to what I'm used to driving. So let's just start off by doing a suspension test right now. And that was like the worst transition ever, but we happened to be doing it. So you can see the front bumper does jiggle a lot from the rest of the car, and so does the hood. It's kind of interesting to watch it, as those two parts seem to jiggle freely from the rest of the car. But it seems like it doesn't have any major issues going over the suspension test. The suspension is able to cope with the bumps without issue. And I'm trying to stay centered up, but that's easier said than done when you're not looking at where you're going. It just is so counterintuitive. But we have completed that, so let's try to do the loop-de-loop at only 50 miles per hour, which is pushing my luck here. Come on! Oh, just barely made it. I honestly did not expect to make that. All right, into the tube. And this is the full power of that inline 6 engine, which now we can see. How convenient is that? I was actually half trying for that, but I didn't expect it to work. So there's the inline 6 engine. It's nothing impressive. It leaves a lot of room in the engine bay for the big old V8s to be put in there later on. And I can't exactly see the damage too well unless I get inside the cube. There we go. Now you can see the actual damage, and it seems like it did a pretty realistic crash there, so I have no complaints to speak of. Let's do one more crash test with this version of the car, and then we'll take a look at some of the other versions of the car that are available to us. We'll start off by just letting the car fly and hitting the ground and seeing how well the suspension copes with that. And it looks like we're going to hit it at a very awkward angle, so that makes it even worse for the suspension to be able to withstand the impact. You also notice that it does have frameless doors, or frameless windows on the doors, which I think is pretty fancy. Although it sometimes looks a little funny when the doors stick out like that. But it happens. When you do crashes like that, it seems like. You can see into the interior, which I love. And now, let's slam into the side. Like, this is all kind of just happening coincidentally. It's like, what can I do as I drive? And I think it's working out pretty well there. So 2 impacts on the car. And I see no glitchiness to speak of. We have totaled the car, unfortunately, though, so we can't drive anymore. You can actually see that the engine has shifted a little bit from being centered up. So that's why the engine can't put the power down to the wheels, because it's not connected at all to the rear. So now we can go over the changes between all the different versions of the vehicle. So once again, we have this one, the 232 cubic inch inline 6. The next one in the list is a 291 cubic inch small block V8, which is identical except for the wheels and the engine. And if we remove the hood, you can see that this one actually has a V8 engine, which fits the engine base so much better. Like the inline 6 had so much empty space. The V8 in this one fits a much better. But if you want an engine that fits even more better, you should take a look at that 353 cubic inch big block V8. Now this one is identical to the car we just had except for the engine, which is visually a little bit bigger, and it's really hard to tell the difference unless you do a side-by-side comparison. And then under those circumstances, you will notice that this engine is ever so slightly visually bigger, and it is, of course, faster because it is a bigger engine. Then we have the 423 cubic inch big block V8, which is once again the exact same as the previous car, but it has a bigger engine. Now this one seems to have the same engine model though as the 353 cubic inch, because I went back and forth between the two and they seem to look identical. One fun small detail is if you go between the 232 cubic inch version and the 423 cubic inch version, so the big engine versus the small engine, you notice that the one with the big engine sits lower than the one with the small engine because the engine weight is actually modeled realistically, so the suspension is under more weight on the front when you have the big engine versus the small engine. And the easiest way to show it off is going between these thumbnails. You notice that the front of the car dips down a little bit. And then, of course, all the versions I was showing you have both a manual and an automatic version. The automatic is a 3-speed. The manual is a 4-speed. And we could also take a look at the Awful, which is a modified version of the inline 6 version of the car. So you can actually see that it's the inline 6 because, well, there's the exhaust of the vehicle. You wouldn't have an exhaust like that on a V8. And it's just like the inline 6, but a lot of parts have been removed from the car. And it has that fancy exhaust that exits through the hood. You can kind of see through the car, which is cool, I think. Just being able to like see through it to the engine like that is kind of fun. You got the hole just cut in the engine like that. The interior isn't really stripped down though. It's pretty much the same except for the seats being removed, but it has all the fancy wood trim and all that still in what's called the Terrible. The Awful, I mean, not the Terrible. The Terrible is the Moonhawk one. The Awful is the Barstow one. It's the same idea, but they have different names, so I gotta remember that. Anyways, moving on to the next set of the cars, which are the Road Sport package version of the cars. They follow the same idea as the normal one, where the only difference between these 3 different Road Sports is the engine size. So to keep things simple, we're just going to compare the 291 cubic inch small block V8 to the 291 cubic inch small block V8 Road Sport package. And the first thing you'll notice with the Road Sport is that it has an RS on the back, which does stand for Road Sport. We also have an RS on the front, which once again stands for Road Sport. And you'll notice that the headlights are gone on this version. That's because this one has this cool concealed headlight configuration, which I might just get the Road Sport version just to get these headlights, because it's so cool how they open and close like this, and you can even like have it half open, just wiggling about and just doing stupid things with the headlights, but it's fun to mess around with. I do notice though that when it opens and closes, it seems like it clips the inside of the light a little bit on this edge. If you look closely, you'll see what I mean. It kind of looks like it goes inside of it. So it's kind of a little strange, but it's still so cool having them open them, close them, open and close them. Anyways, as for the actual differences of the vehicle, this one has a 4-barrel carburetor versus a 2-barrel on the engine, which does make it a lot faster. And it's actually faster than the biggest engine non-Road Sport version in like a quarter mile, but eventually the bigger engine will overtake it. It's just this one is lighter weight and it's able to accelerate faster, but the other one has is able to get to the top speed faster. It's an interesting drag race if you actually put them side by side. I'll have to do that later on. Anyways, though, it also has heavy-duty springs and shocks, which means it's a little bit stiffer and a little bit more durable, so it handles better as well as holds up better. And it has a sport steering setup, so it steers a little bit faster than the normal version. When you go like left to right, it goes left to right faster. And it also has a different wheel than the other one, I think. And it has a limited slip differential, which is always nice to have on any sort of sport-like car or muscle car or anything like that as far as I'm concerned. So let's go ahead and just drive this around for a bit and find something to crash it into. How about this? We'll hit this dirt right here and almost flipped it, I would have thought, but nope, it actually held on. And I don't know why the menu just opened up there. That was kind of weird. Oh, if I click in the joystick, it opens up the menu. Must have been with the update. I didn't know that. I don't like that because when I get really serious and I turn really hard, I always click the joystick. So I'll be like driving and then the menu opens up for no reason. It's like, why'd you do that? Oh, that's because I was steering really hard. Anyways, let's just perfect. Got a nice crash right there. Although I didn't really get to demonstrate that it has a heavy-duty suspension with that crash. We just ruined it. That's all we managed to do there, unfortunately. We can actually go ahead and do a test to see how heavy-duty this suspension is by doing the same jump we did before with this version of the car. Now, we're not going to accelerate the whole way because it is a faster car, so I'm thinking it would go through there a little bit faster. So doing the jump, it can still drive. So I'm assuming that the heavy-duty is a little bit stronger based on that quick test that we just did. We can do another jump right here, which shouldn't have any issue doing that after it did the big jump. And we can get this thing to this final jump, which will probably kill it, I'm thinking. Because it can only stand so many jumps, right? Yep, that killed it. But it did a pretty good job. I think the headlights kind of fall out too. Yeah, you can see the headlights are falling out from all those jumps. What happens if we try to turn them on? Oh, they still try. I'm so proud of you, headlights. That one's all like upside down on the right. Oh my goodness. That poor headlight. He didn't stand a chance. I like the way that the trunk popped open like that. It almost looks like it has like a sunroof or something, but that'd be so strange to see in this car. Like, it just doesn't seem right for this car to have like a sunroof, but it kind of looks like it has like a sunroof or something open right there. That's kind of funny. Now we can go ahead and take a look at the next version of the car, which is the Track Sport version of the car, which is kind of a mix of the normal version and the Road Sport. So the first thing you'll notice is this car does look very different than the ones we had before it because it has stripes on it. It has painted bumpers that match the color of the car, and it has some louvers, and I've always loved louvers on cars. They look so cool to me. It also has a hood scoop as well for the engine to breathe a little bit better, and then it has the TS letters on the front and the rear. Now, the reason I say it's a mix of both the Road Sport and the normal one is because it has the lights of the normal version, but it has the engine of the Road Sport. The suspension, however, is a race coilover setup, so it is the best handling version of all of the Barstows that are available to you. It has a rear sway bar on it that is also made for racing. Different set of wheels, which I didn't exactly show you. And it has a different steering wheel that doesn't have the wood grain, but it kind of matches the era of the car still. It's not the same race steering wheel you see on all the other cars. It's a more unique one. And we'll go ahead and crash into the wall like this. Oh, I should mention the engine in this one is the same engine of the one we were actually driving exactly. It's a 291 cubic inch engine. And we can just barely still drive this, sort of. But let's try to get it in the hole. Like, this is now an abandoned car. We're just going to drop it in the hole. Come on. There we go. What a shame. A rare track sport version of the Barstow wrecked and abandoned. You can actually take a look at the interior after it crashes. Holds up okay. The steering wheel does get misaligned after a crash, though, as you can see there in the air vents. They always look funny a lot of the time, where they all get non-circular and ovally and squiggly and just crazy all over the place and stuff. So maybe this interior doesn't hold up quite as good as the other ones. I never really paid attention to how it crashes, but it seems like it might be a little bit more likely to get a little glitchy. And we got a few more versions of the car to look through, though. The next one is the Lancehead. And I like it has a nice description here. Named for the fearsome pit viper. It is equipped with a big block V8 and sport suspension. So this one is kind of based on the Road Sport because it once again has the concealed lights, but it has a lot of the features of the Track Sport as well, like the stripes, the hood scoop, and that's it. Oh, the painted bumpers too. I forgot about that. It also has the painted bumpers, and then it has the same wheels as the Track Sport, I believe, but it has a 423 cubic inch V8, and I believe it has the 4-barrel carburetor, so this is the second most powerful version of the car available to us, but behind only the drag version. And the suspension in this one is the same as the Road Sport. Did I say that before? Well, I said it twice now. Also, it has no louvers. I miss the louvers. I really do. And the stripes, you'll notice on this one, they're white. You have the choice of either white or black stripes in the part selector. That's how you choose the color of the stripes. It's not like based on the color of your car or anything like that. How the lights work? Oh, they still work. Good job, lights. The next version of the car available is the drag version of the car, which is basically based on the Lancehead, I would say, because there's a lot of the details of the Lancehead, but some changes. It has a different hood, a very visible supercharger on it. That's a stage 2 supercharger. It has a 4-speed automatic drag transmission, and you can actually see the transmission when it's automatic. Now, I wanted to point it out. The way it looks and the way it shifts just looks really cool to me. You can see it like actually moves that whole section and stuff. It just looks really cool to me the way that transmission works. And it has the concealed lights. No, it has the unconcealed lights though, which the Lancehead did not have. So it's kind of a mix of parts once again. It has the race coilovers of the Track Sport though, and it has special drag wheels. I think that covers all the parts. So here's just a quick demonstration of the speed. It can just about lift those front wheels off of the ground under the right circumstances, and just like that though, we're already up to 150 miles per hour basically. If I wasn't steering so hard, we would have been going faster. And we did hit in a way where it looks like it stretched out part of the suspension forever. So that's not good. Let's go ahead and just reset that. And let's do a really high-speed suspension test. That looked funny. And then another high-speed crash. That looked better. No glitchiness there. Although the mirror seems to be floating under my car. You can see the mirror right there. Didn't exactly come detached as you would expect. Ah, there's my wheel. He came back to me. Inside of the car, once again, looks pretty stretched out on that center console, and this side didn't fare that great either. Hood seemed to fare alright though, even with the giant hole in it. And the car itself seems like it did alright as well. And now, for the last version of the car available to us, it is the King Snake, which is called the Ultimate Barstow. It features a supercharged big block V8 race suspension and special wide track slotted mags. So compared to the Lancehead though, it has that cool cowl induction hood, and it's even cooler to see it from the inside because you can actually see the stage 1 supercharger in there. And if you use this camera angle, it's cool as well because you can really see inside the engine bay, and I really like being able to see inside the engine bay. You can even see the extra support pieces that are inside the engine bay as well, which have a proper name, but it's skipping my mind right now. And this one has race coilovers and the fancy wheels, as I said before, and that's about the only differences compared to the Lancehead. It's very similar to the Lancehead, actually. And as you can see, it is pretty fast, but not nearly as fast as the drag version. It is a fun car to drive, though, because it has enough speed to have fun with it. Not crazy fast like the drag one, where you go 100 miles per hour in the blink of an eye. Let's see, how well does the race suspension fare in rocks? Not well, because I hit the front of the car, not the suspension. So that one, that crash seemed to do pretty decent. I noticed a little bit of strange deformation on the suspension there, but otherwise it seems like it held up pretty well for a really high-speed crash of almost 100 miles per hour. Oh my goodness, you can see the transmission is entering into the car. That is not good. Like for the driver, I don't know in terms of glitchiness if that's acceptable. I guess it technically could be because the impact was so brutal, but it's funny seeing the transmission just sticking its head through the interior of the car. Got a little bit of damage on the rear as well. And you got the louvers. I love those louvers. The Lancehead didn't have louvers. This one does. I forgot to mention that. So that covers all of the different versions of this car that are available. That took quite a while. Now, I want to do a little bit more driving with the different versions of the car before I totally wreck them on brutal slope and stuff. So let's start off by just driving the race version on Hirochi Raceway. Alright, let's go ahead and get ourselves the Track Sport. And I don't even know if I'll do a whole lap of this place or anything, but when you got a car called the Track Sport, you gotta at least drive it on the track a little bit. Like, that's what he dreamed of. This car dreamed of driving on the track. And I'm gonna let it live its dream of driving on the track, even if it's just for 30 seconds before I hit a wall or something. And apparently his dream is to drift a little bit. Wow. Okay, this thing seems a little slippery going around these corners. Like, it's gonna be an interesting thing to handle. I haven't actually driven this thing much, so I don't know what I was expecting out of it, but it wants to slide. To put it simply, it just feels like it wants to slide. Like, right here, just slide about this corner, just try to drift it a little bit. Oh no, that's not this. I should have drifted a little bit longer, but you see, it really wants to just slide through the corners. It's actually kind of fun to drive it. Not exactly gonna get me any fast times, but it does require a little bit of work to keep it going. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Hey, I didn't crash it. That's all that matters, is that I didn't crash it. That billboard is so funny. It's representing my car, though. Alright, there's a bump at the end of this, isn't there? I kind of usually have to avoid the bump. Yeah, there was. It wasn't that bad. I know sometimes I get messed up on that bump when I have, like, the race cars, though. It's sit really low. Oh, no, into the dirt. Track Sport. Also, the Dirt Sport. See, I was braking so hard there, I squeezed the control and opened up the menu. I will complete a lap, even if it's the world's messiest lap ever, because I didn't even practice this. See, normally I practice this. This time it's just like, we can do a lap without crashing, sure. And the problem is that I try to like slide all over the place because it's kind of fun to do that, and I don't complete the laps exactly. Anyways, though, that's complete. So now we can just wreck it. We'll just drive along the wall a little bit. Oh no, there's a thing sticking out. Boom. That was a nice hit. That thing in real life would not be able to hold up to a car crashing into it, but it works out pretty well just to crash something into, though. Obviously that thing's not going to drive. You can see the engine is not even pointed straight back anymore. But damage to the car itself seems pretty reasonably realistic. I noticed no real issues that I want to point out. Lots of damage, though. That must have been a fast crash. I didn't see the speed, but it had to have been at least like 80 miles per hour, I would think. Anyways, though, I think that is about all I want to do for driving that car around here. So let's just go ahead and do what I do at the end of every video and throw this thing off a leap of death. Okay, so the game crashed. I'm assuming that's the game's way of telling me it doesn't want to go to leap of death yet and it wants to do something else instead. So to appease the game, let's just do something at Derby Arenas. Alright, I have an idea of what we can do. So what if we get the awful and we crush it between two drag versions of the car? So even though we're in a really tight space, we should be able to get up to a pretty good speed to brush it. And we can make them two different colors even, so one of them could be red and the other one could be, let's go blue. Heck, we can make this an American crash. We can make them all red, white, and blue. Although that's kind of weird, isn't it? Eh, what the heck. Red, white, and blue crash it is. That looks like a realistic white color for that car. It's like not pure white or something, but it's whitish. Alright, first, this car goes over to this side. Oh, I heard it bottoming out, I think. We'll just try to... It's amazing how fast this car goes, even though it's driving in the dirt. Although it is hard to handle it. I think we want it to be like... there. Perfect. Next is the blue one, and we'll line it up across from the red one. Alright. Like so. Does that look like it's straight across? Pretty close. And we line this guy right in between them. So right there. Stop. Stop. Okay, good. And now all we need to do is freeze physics and disable parking brake, accelerate, disable parking brake, accelerate, and if everything goes according to plan, we should basically squish that car. Although it seems like it's a little crooked on the red car, but we can save this. Go left. Go left. It's gonna work. You go right. Surely it'll work out fine. You accelerate. That might help. Oh well, something's gonna happen. I'm afraid to change the slow-mo though because I put the slow-mo on a different car. So if I change it, it'll just burst forward in fast full speed and you'll miss the crash. So we gotta watch it at this speed no matter what, unfortunately. Luckily though, it looks like the point of impact is on point. We're gonna squish the car right between the two just like I wanted. Perfect. And then the other two cars are gonna hit each other as well. It's like a triple crash. Oh, that's so perfect right there. Alright, and well, that's about the impact, yeah? Then we hit 8 times slow-mo and you see it, boom, it lurches forward. Luckily we didn't miss anything because I knew that it does that. Now it's moving still. That's kind of funny, it just keeps moving. Alright, so now that we've done one extra crash, now we can go ahead and move on to not scenarios. Leap of death. Now I have to choose which version of the car am I going to use here. I think I'll go with the King Snake because that's the ultimate version. It has the most fancy parts as far as I know. Like the louvers and the fancy opening and closing lights and what else is there? I don't know. It's the ultimate. Oh, the hood. Anyways, we'll do this one at full speed and just try to watch it from upside down apparently because that's what the camera wanted to do there. Twirl, you're a helicopter. You always wanted to be a helicopter and now you are. Or you're a snake actually. You always wanted to be a snake. I mean, it's in your name. You wanted to be a snake and now you can slither like one. Not twirl. Slither. That way. Seems like it held up pretty well there. No major glitching or anything like that, which is all you can expect from something like this. I wonder if the developers do that. They could just totally wreck the car and say, okay, that part didn't hold up well. Let me tweak that and stuff. I wonder if that's actually how it's done. See, I understand how to make a J-beam structure and the idea behind it and all that, but I don't know how you would go about like tweaking it so it doesn't glitch out and all that. Alright, this gets the slow-mo. And I can actually get a better camera angle now because I have time to react. Just like that. Oh, my engine fell out. That's a problem. And we'll just go full speed from here. Because it's pretty much wrecked at this point anyways. All the way to the bottom. My engine! He's really gone now, and I saw some small part of my car flying. Looks like, is that a bumper? I think that's a bumper I see ahead of me. I'm gonna get you, bumper. I'm gonna get you. Somehow. No, I'm not. Oh, there's, it looks like the springs or something from the suspension is glitching out, I think. The reason I think it's the springs is because there's 2 of them, one from the left, one from the right. And it kind of looks like it has like a spring pattern to it, doesn't it? Yeah, those are springs for sure. You can see it now at that angle. It's like kind of, I don't know, it's just weird how you can kind of tell what it is from this angle, but not like this really. Unless you know exactly what it is already. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to Brutal Slope. Alright, so for this one, we're going to get the fastest version of the car available to us, which is the drag version, so we can hit that wall at well over 200 miles per hour, I would assume. Just got to be careful right here to not do anything dumb, and then full throttle. Already up to 170, 180, and now we are topped out at the transmission's maximum, so anything else is just from gravity's assistance. Still a pretty good speed though. We're almost going to hit 240 miles per hour. So we'll do 100 times slow-mo now. all engine went inside the car. Now it's going outside of the car. It's going out the trunk. The engine is coming out the trunk. I can't see it for sure anymore. Hey, look, there's the tire. It looks like a slice of pizza. Well, from one angle it did. Now it don't. There, pizza slice, pizza slice, pizza slice. You can see it, and I can't now. Yeah, I see the transmission though. It somehow made its way to the back. Almost looks like an exhaust, like a piece of the exhaust or something. It fell so far back. Like you look at it and it's like, wait a minute, that's not an exhaust. But from, angle like, well, I can't get a good angle, but like that, it kind of almost looks like a piece of an exhaust. But yeah, that ruined the car, as you would expect. So we can do one more of these, and we'll just go and scrape the roof off. Because who needs a roof? They're useless. They just make it where you can't breathe the fresh outdoor air or something like that. I don't know. Point is, we're gonna remove this roof. We'll do this in full speed just cause. Nah, that's dumb. That's dumb. Then you can't even see what happens. If you want to see full speed, just close your eyes right now and open them in 10 seconds. That's what you would see in full speed anyways. You would see nothing because it happens too fast. Woo! Oh, whoa, that looks actually really good. That actually looks really good like that. Oh, this car needs a convertible mod. I'm sure somebody will make it because like pretty much every car has a convertible mod, but this one actually would look kind of good. Oh, dude. Oh, it doesn't drive though. That's too bad because that would be awesome to drive around this thing. Oh, the camera got shifted too much to do it from the inside though. Anyways, that'll do it for the Barstow. And until next time, this is WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.